What's happening, YouTube? This is Brian916. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, I'm in my vehicle. I'm actually on a 6-hour road trip by myself. So I thought while I'm sitting here not doing anything, it'd be a good time to talk about should you become an auto technician in 2020. So I made a video like this probably 2 or 3 years ago, and when I made that video, I noticed that it looks like there's a new direction that automobiles are taking. So the future of automobiles, it looks like it's taking a turn. I've been doing this for a really long time, so I've sort of been working as an auto technician and noticed the computer boom, if you will, in vehicles, going from like just one module or 1 or 2 modules to, you know, having like 25, 30 modules. So I've sort of watched that evolution of vehicles take place throughout my 20 years of doing this, and how things have changed dramatically on how you diagnose and repair vehicles. So I noticed that it's actually evolving and moving into another direction. I don't think that internal combustion engines is going to be around for a really long time, or not too much longer. So with that being said, if you are a young person thinking about getting into automotive repair, I don't think that the internal combustion engine is probably going to be around in another 20 or 30 years. Maybe for specific applications, but I think the vast majority of vehicles is probably going to be EV. So if you notice, every major line is now producing or building EV transportation. So I thought that this might have just been a trend, because I've been in this industry long enough to see automobile trends, and it looked like it could have just possibly been a trend. This is not the first time that car manufacturers have produced EV transportation. So, but now I notice it's more than just, you know, an alternative vehicle to the internal combustion engine. It actually looks like this is the direction that it's going. So if you are thinking about getting into auto repair or becoming an auto technician in 2020, and you're young, just getting out of high school, or in your 20s, early 20s, it would be a good idea for you to start learning electric vehicles, start learning electric motors, start learning electricity, because mechanical or internal combustion engines, which is highly complex mechanical device, which takes a lot of training to be able to learn and properly diagnose it and properly repair it, especially a lot of European vehicles that I've worked on. I've repaired my fair share of very complex European internal combustion engines. But it looks like I stated, the direction is moving towards electric vehicles. So if you are thinking about getting into this field, you need to be focusing on electronics strictly. Of course, you know, you want to learn internal combustion engines so you can still work on them as they phase out. But I think, you know, like I said, probably like 20 to maybe 30 years from now, I think the vast majority of vehicles is probably going to be electric vehicles. So that's one thing to consider if you're thinking about becoming an auto technician. Now, if you were my age, in your late 30s, early 40s, or if you're, you know, in your 30s, you probably don't have nothing to worry about, as you know, you're probably going to be still working on internal combustion engines. But anybody like 18, 19, and 20, I think it'd be a good idea for you to learn how to work on hybrids, and then eventually just like how to work on electric vehicles, because that's the way of the future. And like I said, it looked like a trend at first, but I don't think so. You see, I got an email from GMC and sent me some information about that new vehicle. And then of course you got pickup trucks now that can, you know, haul the same load and have the same carrying capabilities as an internal combustion engine, and it's completely electric. So you can see that things are taking that turn. Trains at this point are a combination sort of diesel electric. So there's like one giant diesel motor that drives one giant alternator essentially, and then from that alternator there's cables going to like little motors at each wheel of the train cart, and that's how the diesel electric motors work. So eventually that diesel engine on that train is probably going to be gone. It's going to be a big electric motor, you know, that's powering those little motors at the wheel. So I think that's the way. As far as pay scale goes and what auto technicians will be making when there's just nothing but electric vehicles on the road, who knows? Right now you can make a fairly decent living as an auto technician. You won't get rich, but you can live pretty comfortable. I always push self-employment in this business. Once you become experienced and you can do your job well, I highly recommend that a person becomes self-employed. You know, that's the way to really earn a good living as an auto technician, is self-employment. Okay, so that's the future of auto repair, and that's my 2 cents on any new technicians coming into the game. So you definitely want to get a great education when it comes to how electricity behaves and how to diagnose and repair you know, failed electrical components, as well as, you know, a little bit of computer education there as well. I'm back to the internal combustion engines and the current state of auto repair at this time. It looks like the pay is getting better. You know, a while back you had boycotts and things like that, and in Chicago and things like that, where mechanics just walked out because the pay was crappy. And we, for a long time here, I say for a good like 10 years, shop owners and dealerships was really getting away with paying auto technicians you know, terrible wages. But I think that's starting to go away, and I think things are starting to get better as far as pay goes. And like here in California, it's illegal to pay someone flat rate if there's nothing in the shop. Or in other words, you can pay someone flat rate on the repair work, but if there's no shops or if there's no vehicles in the shop, then you have to pay them hourly. So it'd be like if no cars are in the shop, you would get your flat hourly wage, which is probably like minimum wage. And then, you know, when vehicles are in the shop, you'll, you know, get your flat rate. So that's how it works here. Even if you like run errands for the shop or go and pick up parts and do things like that, they have to pay you an hourly wage. So things are getting a little bit better as far as pay goes. And you really want to consider that when you're coming into this field. You want to talk to other technicians, and you want to talk about pay and how well you can get paid as an auto technician before you you know, commit to 2 years or 3 years getting an education. However, if you do decide to get into the field and you get that education and you learn and you do become an auto technician and you end up not liking it and you move into something else, you know, I don't really see there being any like waste of time there, because the money you'll save as an auto technician on your own vehicle, on your wife's vehicle, your children, your family members, trust me, you'll save a ton of money. So you'll save a ton of money the rest of your life repairing your own vehicle. So I mean, it would be well worth the investment of the time that you spent learning the trade anyway. I always recommend, if you do think that this is something you want to do, definitely pursue it and give it a try. and learn as much as you can. And if you don't like it, you still have that to fall back on. So if you don't like it, you can always go and get into another trade or get into another job, and you can always fall back on auto repair. You know, it's always there. You'll end up working on people's vehicles anyway. Once people find out that you are a skilled mechanic, it's hard to you know, get people away, so to speak. You know, people are always calling, and I've had neighbors before, you know, knocking on my door, wanting me to look at their vehicle. You know, I even have subscribers like tracking my phone number down, trying to get a hold of me just from looking at some of the repairs that I've done. So there's always work as an auto technician. So that's one thing that I want you to take from this. If you do become an auto technician, there will always be work for you if you take the time and really learn this trade, dedicate a couple good years to really mastering the trade, the mechanical side and the electrical side, and there will always be work for you there. So there is a measure of job security, and like I stated before, you can always go the self-employment route if you don't necessarily want to work for someone else. There's plenty of guys, including myself, who became business owners because of the trade that we have. So the question is still on the table. Should you become an auto technician in 2020? Is that a good idea? Well, to give you my honest opinion, there's certainly nothing wrong with getting in the automotive industry and becoming an auto technician. But I think if you have the opportunity to be able to get into a field that maybe, you know, pays a little bit more, or may have more perks, or less labor intensive possibly, I definitely think you should pursue other options first if you have the opportunity to do that. So me, myself, auto repair was not my first choice. A lot of people don't know this, but I really wanted to be an elevator escalator technician. So that was my goal, was to become an elevator escalator technician. That obviously didn't work out for several different reasons. And then my second choice, I was looking into becoming an aircraft maintenance technician, and I just couldn't afford a lot of these programs, you know. So I ended up being an auto technician because I pretty much didn't really have the opportunity to pursue something else in the mechanical area. I really didn't have the means to be able to afford some of these other programs. So with that being said, if you do have an opportunity to do something else, you know, I would say, you know, go after that first, because it is a lot of work in the automotive field, and you deal with a lot of nonsense in this profession that, you know, most professions don't have to deal with. You have to deal with the personalities of other auto technicians. For some reason, this field turns people into know-it-alls, and you get like a lot of simple-minded people who try to get into competitions with you, and they want to prove that they're the best, and they try to go above and beyond to show that they got better tools than you, and they know more than you, and they're the best and all that. So you kind of have to deal with that, whereas other trades or other skills, you don't have to deal with that, or people kind of just treat each other as colleagues. But in this field, sort of, guys don't necessarily treat each other as colleagues. They look at other guys as competition. So there's a lot of nonsense to deal with in this profession. So let me say that, you know. Also, if you don't really necessarily like interaction with people, you want a job where you just put your head down and work, auto repair is not going to be for you, because you have to deal with people quite a bit in this profession, especially if you go the self-employment route. You deal with people all the time. You deal with different personalities. People always want their vehicles done quick. You will be rushed. There will be times where you will lose sleep because of this job. You may have made a mistake and it cost you some money, and you know that you're gonna have to replace something that you broke or something like that, or it could be something that you thought was an easy diagnosis, and you pulled the trigger on that diagnosis and come to find out it's still having the same issue, and it could keep you up at night, trying to figure out, all right, so what's going on. So that's one thing about this field that people don't talk about, that there are times when this job you will lose sleep because of this job, and there's times where you will have to deal with crazy customers or harassing customers, like other simple-minded auto technicians that's trying to compete with you. So there are some cons to it. So my thing would be, definitely, if this is something that you think you really want to get into, go for it. I don't think you'll have any regrets. It's a great skill that you'll always have. So I definitely think you should go for it. But also, if you're young, make sure you learn EV. Get into electric vehicles, because that's the future. So you want to get a head start on that and be able to diagnose and repair electric vehicles. So at this time, most like Tesla owners and other manufacturers that make electrical vehicles, a lot of these people aren't able to repair their own vehicles. At this point in time, there's a monopoly on the repair of electric vehicles because no one can really repair them yet, and the manufacturers aren't really releasing any information on how to repair them, because most auto technicians who've done this long enough, if you give us a manual and you give us enough information to be able to read the information, we probably can figure it out and make the repair. So a lot of that information is sort of being withheld because they know that that's a possibility, that there's a lot of us sharp auto technicians out there who could follow manuals very well, or who can read up on how a component works and be able to determine what happened. So guys, it wouldn't be fair if I ended this video without talking about ASE certifications as well as the tool costs. So as far as ASEs go, I highly recommend you get ASE certified. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm an auto technician, and then there's another thing to actually show on paper that, hey, that I'm competent enough to be able to pass a rigorous test. ASE tests aren't easy to pass. You have to have some type of experience on top of being able to reason mechanically, on top of just knowing cold hard facts about the way automobiles work, to be able to pass these tests. They don't make these tests where anybody can just walk in there and pass a test. There's been times that I went in to take a test and didn't know if I was going to pass or not when I took a test. And I've been doing this a long time, so you definitely want to take those tests. You can demonstrate to employers that, hey, this is what I do. I'm committed to what I do. Here's my certification showing my dedication to the craft. So I highly recommend you get ASE certified. And another thing about ASE certification is it actually helps you to become a better technician, because you'll study to prepare for that test, and I guarantee you, when you study for that test, you will learn something that you didn't necessarily know. And a lot of times it can help you to understand better things that you already know. So I highly recommend ASE testing. And then on the tool side of things, tools is a major factor. You will have to buy a lot of tools. There's so many different nuts and bolts on an automobile. You're gonna have to deal with 1/4-inch drive, 3/8 drive, 1/2-inch drive, whole socket sets, assortments of ratchets as far as your hand tools go. wrenches, all different types of wrenches, you know, offset wrenches, straight wrenches, angle wrenches, half moon wrenches, all types of wrenches to be able to get at fasteners. Okay, so you're going to need a lot of tools. You're going to need electrical tools. You're going to need multimeters. You're going to need circuit testers. You're going to need a variety of scan tools. Okay, because one scan tool won't do it. You're going to need several different scan tools. Of course, you're going to need something to house all these tools in. The tool expense is up there. So if you are new or you are thinking about getting into the automotive field, starting off as a rookie, you're probably going to need at least somewhere around, I would say, like 2,000 to 5,000 worth of tools. I recommend you stay away from the tool truck as a rookie. That's really not a good idea for a rookie. You know, I would recommend tool companies like Tecton. Shout out to Tecton. I would recommend Gear Wrench. I would recommend looking on Amazon for different decent quality tools that you may find on Amazon. So I recommend going that route. Okay, and then as far as toolboxes go, you can find decent tool storage at Lowe's and Home Depot. You can find a decent tool storage. So I recommend that until you get acclimated and you learn your job well and you start to become efficient. Then you want to start upgrading tools as you know you need the tool. So you'll start to realize after a while, I need something better or I need something different, and you'll start to know what you need. But just starting off, you definitely want to save some money. But the tool expense is up there coming into this field, so you definitely want to set some money aside if you are going to school, or utilize those school discounts if you go into a trade school and try to build your tools up while you're in school, getting them cheap. Because when you start paying full price for them, they can get pretty expensive. So anyway, that's my thoughts on should you become an auto technician in 2020. I definitely think you should become an auto technician, but like I stated before, if you have the opportunity to do something greater, for lack of a better word, you should probably do that. Or if you have the opportunity to get into a field that's a little less labor intensive, but still pays decent, you can explore that. There's plenty of blue collar trades out there. You got heating and AC, like residential and commercial HVAC. You got all the different construction trades like framing and drywall and plumbers and things like that. So there's a lot of different trades out there, and what I would recommend is that you take a look at how much these different trades make, and how much money do these tradesmen spend on tools and equipment, and to keep running or to keep working every day. And if you can, go and talk to a long-time auto technician, go and talk to a long-time HVAC guy, go and talk to a long-time contractor and things like that, and sort of make an opinion based on some details that a person gives you, an experienced person. You'll want to talk to a guy who just started a week ago, but you definitely want to find somebody that's been in the game for a long time. So with that being said, nothing against getting in auto repair. I've done well in auto repair. I've run my own business and then ended up getting into auto sales and selling vehicles as an auto dealer, and I made some money. So it's not all bad. It's pretty good, but it all depends on you. Becoming an auto technician, it takes a lot of self-motivation. It takes a lot of hard work and determination on the part of yourself. So if you're a type of person who can't self-motivate and don't really have any drive or hustle, auto repair is not going to be for you. Okay, so keep that in mind too. All right, so anyway, guys, this is Brian 916. That was my thoughts on whether or not you should become an auto technician in 2020. Please like and subscribe, leave your comments down below, and we'll see you guys on the next one.